with him
Okay.
for those properties.
So we'll get a work session, but in the meantime, I can give you a list of 10 properties before the end of the night. And because everybody knows what properties we want to sell, so maybe we can get something moving.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, the planning director would probably know better than I would in terms of what,
Right.
I don't know, but that
Okay.
was my intent. I thought that I was acting in the same spirit as the resolution because I wanted to protect the city from any liability that we could incur.
Okay.
And at the same time, we would give him all the listings that we had anyway, so it wouldn't be a problem for him.
Very good. The other item that I asked Councilman Canoia to add on was regarding the city water bills. I had a discussion with Director of Finance Chamberlain, and I was concerned over the weekend because I try to pay my bills on time, and historically, we have a water bill due in early November, I believe November, whatever, sometime in November. And I didn't see a bill for this November, so I was concerned. I came to City Hall and found out that there is a delay in the water bills, and they will be going out, and the due date won't be until late in December. So I just wanted to make people aware of the fact that they did not miss a water bill. They're not late on paying a water bill. The bill themselves have been delayed, and as soon as the bills are out, the due date will be late in December. Is that correct, Director?
The due date will be December 31st.
Excellent. So I just wanted to say that as a public service announcement so that people, when I came in to check, they said many people had come in concerned about their bills. The city's website has been updated today to reflect that new due date, and hopefully we can get the word out that there is nothing wrong, nobody has missed a bill, and the bills will be coming. Thank you, Councilman Canoia, for adding that onto the agenda.
Council President,
Mayor, yes.
actually pertaining to the water bills, I believe that the director is putting an insert in the bill, just notifying everybody of the change of date and that they're not delinquent, there's no penalty,
Excellent.
as long as it's paid by the new due date.
Yeah,
Just
I
so-
just didn't want people to think that I thought I misplaced the bill. So just people will be aware that they didn't get the bill yet, so thank you, Mayor. Moving on to ordinances passed for the first time, November 2nd.
20057, provide municipal parking for certain properties on Church Street.
Motion to approve, Kithis.
Motion made by Councilman Kithis, seconded by Councilman Canoyer. Comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Canoyer?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and 20057 is approved, 7-0, second passage. New ordinances.
20058, providing the city clerk with a designated parking spot in the parking lot behind City Hall.
Motion to approve?
Motion made by Councilwoman Sierra, seconded by Councilman Canoyer. Comments?
Mr. President? Susie.
Yes, Councilman Susi.
Yeah, just a question for our solicitor. In my heart, I have no problems with this piece of legislation, except that, do we have the authority to do that? Where does the council stand as having the authority to do these kinds of things, and where does it end? I mean, does that mean we are now the providers of parking spots for City Hall, or?
Well, I'll look into that before the next passage. I'll
Well,
look into that, but the council does have the power to sell property and lease property. So,
this is not a sale or a lease, it's a,
no, but I will look into that issue.
or should we be voting on something that we're not sure where our
Well,
authority
you
might
need two
lie?
passages anyway, and so.
It's just, again, it's hard, I have no problem, it's just that, I'm not sure if this has happened before, I can't think of any recent memory, and maybe some of these guys on the board here have more history than I, but is that something that we've done in the past, where we've assigned parking spots?
I don't know. I can't
Is
answer
it,
that.
yeah, it's just unusual for me, and I'm not sure where we're going with it, that's all, I don't want to go down somewhere that we're, I don't think that's what we're about, here to do, and getting involved with it, it would seem to me a a better thing to work out amongst certain parties, but anyway, that was my question.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Canoyer?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
No.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and 20058 is approved, 6-1, first passage. New resolutions.
20R102, authorizing the cancellation of certain taxes.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilman
Second.
Ward, seconded by
Kithis.
Councilman Kithis. Comments?
Council President,
Councilman Ward.
for the public's information, this abatement of taxes is in a total amount of $10,634.44.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Canoyer?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and 20R102 is approved, 7-0.
20R103, granting permission to use city property.
Motion to approve, Kithis.
Motion made by Councilman Kithis,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Ward. Comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Council President,
Who was that?
Jim,
Councilman Canoyer?
Councilman Canoyer.
yeah, just a question for the solicitor. Does the council have the authority to say how city property can be used? Let's take parking spaces or whatever, you know.
I think you know the answer to that. That's why you.
I withdraw the question.
Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Canoyer?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and 20R103 is approved, 7-0.
20R104, authorizing the mayor to enter into a 5-year lease for a Rico copier.
I'd like to ask this item to be tabled at the request of the city solicitor.
So moved.
Now, can I have a,
Motion to table?
who seconded that? Is that Jim Canoyer or?
Denise and Jim, yep,
Okay.
sorry.
Roll call, Madam Clerk, on a tabling.
Councilman Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Canoyer?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and 20R104 is tabled at the request of the city solicitor.
20R105, ratifying the tentative agreement between International Brotherhood of Police Officers, Local 404, and the City of Woonsocket.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
made by Councilman Ward,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Canoyer. Comments?
Council President,
Councilman Ward.
I just want to mention to the public that we had our work session with the administration over the matters considered in this agreement for 2019, and had a good discussion. We had some modifications to consider and additional information to be provided. It was provided to us, and I am prepared to approve this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Ward. Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Canoyer?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
No.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and 20R105 is approved, 6-1.
20R106, amending the rules of order of the City Council of the City of Woonsocket to reinstate citizens' good and welfare with provisions for COVID-19.
Motion to approve, Kithis.
Motion made by Councilman Kithis,
I'll second Susie for discussion.
second by Councilman Susie. Comments?
Council President, Kithis.
Councilman Kithis.
So I introduced this because I've heard from a number of constituents that now that it's, I guess, unfortunately obvious to us that COVID is not going to go anywhere for a little while, you know, they would like to see citizens' good and welfare reinstated. I think that, you know, this has all been a very confusing, 8 months now for not only us, but basically any other legislative body. But I have seen some other municipalities starting to reinstate citizens' good and welfare, or whatever their version of that is. And so I think, you know, after speaking to the city clerk, and seeing that this would be a relatively simple thing to do and would really, I think, give the public, an additional opportunity to give testimony, I think that it would be a good idea for us to pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Council President?
Councilman Canoyer.
Yep. So a couple things. Number one, those of you that have been on the council, such as you, Council President, Councilman Ward, you know that I am a supporter and a fan of citizens' good and welfare, and I've darkened your door a number of times using citizens' good and welfare, so I'm certainly a supporter of it. But we are in a lousy time. It's not normal. There's a lot of things that we're not doing anymore in our personal lives, our business lives, public service lives, etc. I'm all for finding a way to have citizens' good and welfare reinstated, but I would prefer, before passing this and then having a problem, that the clerk provide us with a memo describing exactly how it's going to be done. Because the reality is, the city council is having meetings as we are tonight. They're live meetings. We're not doing Zoom. Mr. Jacobs televises them and films them and so forth. So I'd like to get a better understanding of logistically how this is going to be done, because I don't want to find out that it's a problem to do, and then we get criticized for not following through on a duly passed resolution. We've had, I think it's a fair statement to say that we've had some hiccups and glitches, understandably so, but we've had hiccups and glitches with several meetings in terms of the technology and the logistics and so forth. So I think, absent a clear explanation from both the clerk and the IT department of how this is going to work, I get it when you're doing Zoom, but we're not doing Zoom. These are not Zoom meetings. The other thing I would just mention, just for these, in the last whereas, not that the whereas clauses, really mean anything of substance to what's being resolved. I just want to be clear when it says the last whereas, the Woonsocket City Council values public input, and that's absolutely true, and desires meetings to be open and accessible to the public as much as possible. There's two separate issues here. Yes, we all want feedback, and people have our phone numbers, our emails, etc. But don't confuse good and welfare with open and transparent government. Our meetings are very open, they're very transparent, they're televised, they're carried on the radio. Thank you to the Bouchard brothers and Mr. Richards at ON Radio and WNRI for the Bouchards. So it's on the radio. Mr. Jacobs films them. They're on TV. They're on YouTube. They're live streamed. So they're very open so that the public, who we represent, is able to observe and make judgments about our performance, our decisions, etc. So, again, let's not confuse citizens' good and welfare with open and transparent government. And lastly, I can't help but comment that the sponsor of this on a regular basis, and I saw it again tonight, when we try to talk about things, want to get an update on a real estate contract or provide a public service announcement regarding water bills, we add it to the agenda and he votes no every single time. And we used to have council good and welfare, and we have an attorney general that gave us some adverse rulings on that activity, which we've never had discussions and votes and debates. So I just find it a little bit incongruent. But nonetheless, obviously I'm very supportive of citizens' good and welfare, but I think we are better off getting a very clear explanation from both the city clerk and the IT department as to exactly how this is going to be done in the environment that we're currently working. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Canoyer. Any other comments?
Council
Council
President.
President.
Councilman Brien.
Thank you. I am inclined to support the resolution, Council President, but keeping with Councilman Canoyer's concern, I think you can actually split the baby here. So I think that if I may offer an amendment to Section 2, an amendment would be as follows, just simply take out prior to the next regular meeting of the city council, because if it's practicable by the next meeting of the city council, you can do it. And if it's not practicable, you're not bound in saying you're not keeping with the resolution. So, I mean, I think that you could make that, I mean, obviously, you've passed a resolution, so you wouldn't want to sit on it, but I think if you remove prior to the next regular meeting of the city council, and you just said that the city council requests that the city clerk and IT establish a virtual method by which public testimony can be delivered, then, you know, you can establish that means and method without having it to be before the next meeting.
I would second that.
I would second that, too.
So there's a motion made by Council Vice President Brien, seconded by Councilman Kithis, to amend 20R106. On the amendment, comments?
I think it's great.
What was that?
Jim, I'm sorry, I think that's a great amendment, I support it.
Okay. I will support the amendment. I will tell you, though, I've spoken with our Director of IT, and I've spoken with Mr. Jacobs, and the problem is we are not like some other other communities that are conducting their meetings all through Zoom or one of those platforms. We are live right now, and it is very difficult, as you saw with the public hearing that we held prior to the regular meeting. It is very difficult to merge public input through a Zoom-type platform and a public meeting, which is live right now. It's very difficult to do that. So I think I will support the amendment because it makes it sensible that this may not even be able to be done, but it'll give us the time to look into it.
Mr. President, perhaps we should put something in there. I understand the Councilman Brien's amendment to strike prior to the next regular meeting of the City Council, but perhaps we should put some conditional language such as, and I'm just thinking out loud right now, after the IT, put if possible, or attempt to establish a virtual method, something of that, make every reasonable effort to establish a virtual method. So I would suggest, after the word IT, the City Council and IT make every reasonable effort to establish a virtual method. So there, that gives the ability to, you know, make reasonable attempts to do it, but they may not be able to do it. Whereas I think if you don't put any condition in there, it may seem like we passed this resolution, then we just left it hanging. You follow me?
I would make that motion.
Second.
Well, hold on. We already have a motion and a second on the floor for an amendment. So let's deal with the first amendment unless the sponsor for the amendment changes his amendment. We have to deal with one at a time.
We could just vote on John's amendment, and then it'll be before the body as amended, and then we can make another amendment to just fix the wording a little bit, just tweak it a little bit, so that if the IT people could come up with a method that fits the council, then they do it. If they can't, then they don't do it.
Okay? So on the amendment offered by the Council Vice President, do we have any other comments?
Council President,
Councilman Ward.
just in general, but and specifically to this amendment, well, you know, one of the things about modifying the way we do the meeting, when we had, before this all started, if someone came to speak to us, we were looking them right in the eye. They were looking right at us. They were making their statement. If we were totally in a Zoom mode and someone wanted to participate in the meeting through a public comment, they could be unleashed on us through a unmuting process, and we would see them. They would identify themselves, and we would all be on a level playing field looking at one another as they spoke to us, and we listened to them. With this combined structure, when we had the public hearings, had somebody given testimony, they would have done it through a Zoom format, and all we would have had was hearing them. We would not.
That is correct.
We would not be doing the face-to-face public receipt of information from somebody we're looking at who is looking at us because of this combined format. That's essentially the equivalent of us holding our public meeting and having someone call it in and put into a speaker or a microphone for them to talk to us from somewhere else. And I'm a little uncomfortable with the concept of a blended method that takes away our ability. And of course, if someone's speaking and I open up Zoom on my phone or computer, it screws up all of the sound systems. So it's going to be an awkward thing to do. I'll support the attempt, certainly, but I recognize under our current circumstances, without being able to allow someone to come speak to us, it's going to be an awkward thing to achieve, and best of luck with it. But I'll support it under the terms that are being considered.
Thank you. Any other comments on the amendment?
Council President?
Councilman Kithis.
I just wanted to say that I submitted this only after having spoken to the city clerk and with reasonable confidence that she and IT would, in fact, be able to set something up. I certainly appreciate my colleagues, the bringing all of this up, because I think this will be constructive towards creating the most ideal, most effective way to go about this. If I could just, as a suggestion, I think that some sort of like email queue where somebody who wishes to speak would email the city clerk prior so that she does have their information on record, as would be collected otherwise. And then they're unmuted one by one. And we have it in a similar fashion to the way that the Zoom meeting is only fed into the council president's microphone, or alternatively, we would wear headphones and all interact with the Zoom meeting during public good and welfare. I think either of those could potentially be good ways to get around a lot of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. In speaking with the IT director today, though, just to make it clear, I haven't spoken with the clerk, so she may have a better idea than the discussion I had today with the IT director and Mr. Jacobs. But that being said, we can't have two meetings running simultaneously. So if we have a Zoom meeting, then we all have to be Zoom. And as Councilman Ward pointed out, we do a public hearing that way because it is really a one-way conversation where they're giving us an opinion, and if we have to, we can communicate back through the Zoom method. But if you notice, we do the Zoom meeting prior to the regular meeting because we can't run the two concurrently. So we are here live, and in the future that could change. We could be back to Zoom, or who knows what's going to happen. But when we're live, that's why we do the Zoom meeting and the public hearing separate from and prior to the regular meeting. So that's the best that we could work out with a difficult situation. But I don't know enough about it, and I will defer to the experts. But I think that regarding Councilman Brien's amendment recommendation for a change makes a lot of sense, because it'll give us the ability to look into it and implement it if it's possible. So on the amendment, do we have any other comments regarding the amendment only? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, on the amendment, roll call.
Councilman Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Canoia?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes. And 20R106 is amended 7-0. On the main motion as amended, comments?
Council President?
Councilman Kithis.
So I'd like to make the motion as suggested by the solicitor. So in section 2, after IT, add in make every reasonable attempt to, right before establish.
Motion made by Councilman Kithis.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Ward. Comments on the amendment? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk, on the amendment.
Councilman Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Canoia?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and 20R106 is amended for the second time, 7-0. On the main motion as amended, are there any other comments?
Council President?
Councilman Kithis.
Kithis. Just, I guess, kind of, just going back to one thing that was mentioned earlier, I do think that a good argument could be made that the purpose of public good and welfare is for the individual person who is, or excuse me, citizens good and welfare, is the individual citizen who wants to speak to us and us being able to speak back. And so even if there's difficulty with actually televising it, it would still appear in the, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I think that I guess I'll just speak more broadly, that I think that the value is definitely the ability of the public to speak to the body rather than necessarily that conversation be televised. Although, I mean, it would be great if there were a way to do both. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk, on 20R 106 as amended.
Councilman Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Canoia?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and 20R 106 is approved, 7-0 as amended. Next item on the agenda is a vote to go into executive session under 42-46-5A5. And it's any discussions or considerations related to the acquisition or lease of real property for public purposes or the disposition of publicly held property wherein advanced public information would be detrimental to the interest of the public. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? A motion made by Councilman Ward,
Second, Kithis.
seconded by Councilman Kithis to go into executive session. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Canoia?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and we are going into executive session. For those people who are unaware, we will be turning off the video stream and the audio stream. We will be going into executive session for a brief meeting, and we will be coming out of executive session and returning and resuming the live stream and the video when we come out of executive session. And then we will make a declaration of any action taken in that executive session. So we shall not be long, and anyone who is watching, stay tuned, we will be back. Mr. Jacobs, if you can pause the audio and video stream. Thank you. And we are live. Okay, we are back in open session. I would like to, motion to seal the minutes of the executive session.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Ward,
Second.
seconded by Councilwoman Sierra to seal the minutes from the executive session. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Canoia?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and the minutes are sealed. And I would like to make an official declaration that there were no votes taken while in executive session. And that being said, Councilman Ward, if you could adjourn this meeting, make the motion.
Council President, in gratitude and thanks to Councilman Brien for his years of service and Councilman Kithis for his service on this city council over this last term, I motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion made by Councilman Ward. Seconded by Councilman Canoia to adjourn this meeting. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Canoia?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and this meeting is adjourned 7-0 at 8:19.